There we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this month Curiosity Orbit. It is September 2025, and we are going to talk about all the latest news in the world of astronomy and astrophotography. But before we jump into the news, I have a few announcements to make also. I also use this segment to make announcements for the channel. First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to Mike Wobble. What the bunny's doing? Hey, Mike Wobble actually became the channel's first member. So YouTube has this member system where people can support the channel directly, and he just became the channel's first member. So huge shout out to Mike. I'm not sure if he's in chat right now, but if you are, Mike, awesome, welcome aboard. There's a few perks with becoming a member, depending on what tier you're going on. There are like, you can get a little special icon next to your name, so or cosmetic thing. You get access to some special emojis. You get a rollover on the Discord server. That's right now is also only cosmetic, but I am working on something that might give you some extra features over there, but that's work in progress. But yeah, loads of other things. You can go check it out. There should be a join button below if you're interested in that. The other thing I also just quickly wanted to show you guys, now that we are doing shameless self-promotion, was that I hope a lot of you guys have been over checking out deepspacebooks.com. I'm working on a new homepage for it that's not only going to be selling books, but also merchandise. So in the not too distant future, there will be a brand new merch store that will be launching. And I'm trying to do something a little bit more fun than just, taking my logo, slapping it on a t-shirt and calling it a day. So some of the things, again, this is still work in progress, but some of the things you can expect is, for instance, the Beetlejuice t-shirt with any day now, because we've been waiting for that thing to happen since forever, and we're probably going to wait for another 100,000 years. I also tried to make some t-shirts I thought could be fun at like astronomy events, so like Caution may randomly start talking about telescopes. And of course there are drinkwares, so you can get various mugs for the Trekkies out there. There's coffee in that Nebula mug for your coffee. Anyway, it's work in progress. There's going to be a lot more in here, but that's just some stuff that I've been working on. Just wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek. I love this one too. If you have a lot of public outreach events, I always wanted to have like a t-shirt or a hoodie or something where you just have like telescope operator across the back, so people know who's the telescope driver if you want to. But anyway, that is some things that that I've been working on. But let's jump over to some actual space news. And the first news of this month is from Sky and Telescope, where James Webb has apparently discovered a new moon around Uranus. Here we have it. Little speck there. Right now it has the very catchy name U/2025 S/2025 U1. I'm sure they're going to give it a pretty name. But yeah, apparently they discovered this tiny little moon. It was discovered on August 19th, so it's not that long ago. And it's about 10 kilometers in diameter. So it's more like a big rock than what I would consider an actual moon. But it is in orbit, so technically it is a moon. It's just very small, and probably one of those small potato moons that's not really round either. It's more of a large asteroid that it managed to capture into the orbit. That's been discovered. And again, we love all these. I love these James Webb images where you can see the six-pronged diffraction patterns, so you know what we're dealing with here. And I think they have a graph where we can see the different orbits. So it's sitting here right in there. There is one moon, Ophelia, which is closer, sitting right on the edge of the ring. So it's sitting right there between Ophelia and Bianca. All right. So right in that gap there, we have this little moon. So yeah, I think that's. Oh, they have more on here. Cool. So yeah, I think that's cool. Uranus just got another moon. Now, also from Sky and Telescope, James Webb has been busy this month. They've also had a look at TRAPPIST-1. If you don't know TRAPPIST-1, there was this system that like made some rather large headlines a few years ago, I think. because the system has a rather large number of planets in its habitable zone. So we have at least 3 planets that are candidates to be in the habitable zone of the system. The one that James Webb got a good look at this time was TRAPPIST-D. So this is the one that sits right here. As you can see here, it is right on the edge of the habitable zone, probably a little bit too close. And it had a transit event, so that means the planet here was moving in front of the of TRAPPIST-1. This is the star. So the planet moved in front of the star and was able to do something called transient spectroscopy. And what they do is, you probably already know that one of the ways that we can detect exoplanets is if they move in front of the star, we can see the light of the star dip. And then based on how long that dip is and how quick the ingress and period is from when the dip begins to when it's fully dipped, how long is that period, we can tell a lot about the size of the planet and all that stuff. But one thing that people also do is when the planet moves in front of the star, some of that light is going to be passing through a potential atmosphere of the planet. And that means that based on that atmosphere, we might see some new absorption lines showing up in the spectrum from the star. And based on those absorption lines, we can detect a potential atmosphere. And they've done that. They tried to see if they could see any new absorption lines as the planet, the D planet here, moved in front of the star. And they did not. So it indicates that at least TRAPPIST-D does not have an atmosphere, or if it does, it's a very, very thin one, way too thin to actually be like a breathable atmosphere. But again, it is also too close right on the inner edge there of the habitable zone, so it's probably unlikely that that would be a habitable planet. But there are still 3 candidates that I think is a lot more interesting, especially the F1 sitting right there in the middle of that habitable zone. So yeah. It's pretty cool. James Webb has been busy. Okay, let's move on and let's have a quick talk about some astro gear news. First of all, ZWO has pushed a for the next live broadcast and future videos, could you please include automatic dubbing in Italian? I'm typing with Google Translate now. I think so. Automatic dubbing is not something that I can include. It is something that YouTube is enabling, and they are currently slowly rolling it out. So I can actively disable it if I want to, which I haven't. But that means YouTube is slowly rolling out this automatic dubbing. So it is coming, and I don't know when YouTube's going to enable this. I said it's not like let's launch it on all channels on one day. They slowly roll it out, and there's no way for me to know what batch my channel is in and when it's going to be enabled. I know they're experimenting with it, but it is something that's coming. So in the future, you're going to be able to hear me speak Italian, apparently, and Spanish too. Okay, ZWO has launched a new update. It's a rather minor update, but there is some interesting information in here. You see, there's a new update for the ASI Air. And what I found interesting is actually Nightscape, who's in chat now, who alerted me to this, is that they have adjusted the HCG gain on the ASI 585. Now, the 585 series of cameras is very popular. There's a lot of guys that really like these cameras. They even dedicated Facebook groups to this series of cameras. But they've changed this HCG gain. And HCG gain, and it's actually a bit of a weird one calling it gain here, because HCG stands for high conversion gain. And I've been looking up what that means. See, high conversion gain is something that the manufacturer can set in the firmware of the device on cameras in general. And that is what often is referred to as a camera's native gain or its native ISO. It's a specific gain where the camera just performs better than it otherwise would at other gains. And we can actually see it as an example here. I've just pulled up the page for the ASI Air. This is the MC Air. So, but it's the same for the entire 585 series. So if you have a 585 series, this is going to apply to you. So you can see here, if we scroll down through all the marketing materials, here we get to all the interesting stuff, right? Here we have the full well depth at different gains. We have the, I think that's the dark current, but here we have the two last ones, the interesting ones. This is the dynamic range. So what is how many f-stops between the brightest and the faintest object that the camera can take a picture of is there. So the higher this is, the better. And down here we have the read noise. The read noise, of course, is how much noise is generated when you read from the sensor. Lower read noise is better. Okay, up until earlier, a few weeks ago, the native gain or the high conversion gain for the 585 series of cameras was sitting at, here they set it at 252. Some places said it was 248. It's been sitting right there around 250. And what happens at 250 would be, as you can see here, it takes a step up in its dynamic range. So it actually goes up from, what is that, 9.5 up to 11. It goes up of like 1.5 steps, which is quite a lot of dynamic range. Remember, this is a logarithmic scale, right? So it takes quite a significant step up. And at the same time, the read noise just drops. That means sitting at this gain here means that you get a higher dynamic range and less read noise than you would if you had lower gain. So the camera performs better at this specific gain level. And what they've done, what the change is that high conversion gain has been changed to 200. That means this step here has been moved from 250 down to 200. As you can see, that now means it takes a step up here, and then that curve begins to run down from there. And in a similar fashion here, this step here has been moved up here to 200, where it now takes a steep step down at 200 and goes down lower. They've done that primarily because it looks, if you follow this line up, you can see you get a negligible increase in read noise from going down to having the high conversion gain setting at 200 rather than 250. Negligible increase in that. But it means, because you get that increase in dynamic range, that, as they also say over here, that they've done it in order to that it can reach up to 12 stops of dynamic range. So that means now, instead of it peaking at around 11 stops of dynamic range, you now get 12 stops of dynamic range at the high conversion gain if you run that camera at 200 gain. So it's basically just a tune of the camera, but what it means for you, if you have one of these cameras, is you need to reshoot your biases and your darks. When this update is pushed. I actually don't know how the firmware is pushed to the camera, if that's pushed through the ASIR or if you need to do something special. But when you get this update onto your camera, you need to reshoot darks and biases because, again, when this step goes up here, all these points out here, they may have moved. This point here will obviously have moved. Things have moved around, right? So it's important that you redo your calibration frames for this camera after you get that update, as they might no longer be valid. So yeah, keep that in mind as that has been changed. I believe this update came out 6 days ago, so last week. Yeah. Okay. Other news. What else do we have? Let me see if I forgot anything here. I did not. Great. Okay. Let's move on and let's talk about the new mount from also ZWO, the AM3N. For quite a while, we've had the default gain. Yeah, okay, so they have changed the default gain from 552 down to 200. That probably means you should now be shooting at 200 gain, ideally with that camera, as I think that is probably where it's going to perform best. And then reshoot your calibration frames. The AM3N, of course, for quite a while we've had the AM5N, but the version 3 has now also got an update to the N, or new, or whatever that N is short for, I don't know, but there's now a updated version of the AM3 harmonic drive mount. But what have they changed? I'm glad you asked. They actually made a very handy graph here. First of all, they say cable snag prevention. What they mean with that is that now If we go and take a closer look at it here, you will see that the AM3 now comes, there might actually be better pictures up here, so it's easier to see here. You can see here, zoom in a bit, that now there is a power port as well as a USB port that is now internally routed up to the saddle. And that of course means that there's no longer any need for running power cables up to the telescope or data up to the telescope, as you can put that on the base of it, which you can see here. So you basically should be able to just plug it in over here, and then that is routed internally through probably like a slip ring up to the top, where you can then pull your power up to the telescope, pull your power or data up to the telescope as well. So that's what they mean with preventing to cable snag. You just get an updated saddle up here. Other changes is that the AM3N also has had its increased operating temperature, so they can now operate down to, are rated at least to be operating down to minus 20 degrees Celsius rather than only 15 before. They've also added, you can see there, right there on the side, I'm not sure how clear it is on YouTube. If we can maybe zoom in a bit, can we zoom in here? Yeah, there is a little Allen key. Now, what the Allen key is for, I am not really sure about, to be honest, because we already have a tummy bar there for the altitude, and we have like thumb screws here for the azimuth. So what that is, if it is for like mounting it to like a pier extension or something, I don't know. But there is now a M6 hex wrench stored inside the mount. So you have that. I don't know, Nightscape, you have an AM3. What do you use a hex wrench for on the AM3? Because I don't know, but now there's one included. The payload capacity is exactly the same, so it is a minor upgrade. No idea. Okay, great. But there is, you get an M6 hex key now, or Allen key. Payload capacity is exactly the same. Price-wise, they keep it at the same price as the normal AM3 is before. So if we take just the AM3, same price tag as they have before. So it's just basically like a generational upgrade of over the mount. Probably means people who already have the AM3, it's probably not worth upgrading. But if you're going out and you're buying a new one, you should absolutely get the N version, as I think that cable routing is a really nice addition. The increased operating temperature, sure, some parts of the world it might be nice. But again, payload capacity and all that is pretty much the same. Okay, so let me see. We have some more gear news actually we need to talk about. Okay, this one is a bit of a confusing one, if you ask me. Because Astronomy, I took this screenshot from one of their Facebook page, or one of their Facebook pages, because they announced that, hey, they're coming out with a new power station, right? And I thought, oh, that's cool. If you don't know, these power stations are often used in cases where you're not using a like an ASIR or Stellar Vita, or these are small astrocomputers you put on the telescope. If you're using a laptop and you're running Nina, for instance, then it's very common that people put these power boxes on the telescope, where you just basically, it's just a power and data hub where you have USB ports and power outputs on it, and you plug everything into it, and then you just have one power cable going off the telescope and one data cable going off the telescope, allowing you to just connect that up to a PC into your power port, and then you're good to go. So that's the idea, at least, that you would use these boxes for that. So there's more people running off a laptop. But anyway, they posted this about their new SV241 Astro Power Controller is in final development. Is there a light goal? No, I usually don't set light goals, because obviously there's often not that many people. But I don't know where we actually are in terms of likes. Can we get to 10 likes today? We had 5 likes right now. If we can get to 10 at the end, that would be awesome. Oh, now we had 6. Okay, let's see where we end up at. But anyway, SVBony, they announced the new, or they said that it's now in final development. I got this on the August 16th. You can see that was when it was posted. And here's where things get a little confusing. Okay, we look at the pictures. They say there are 7 DC output ports okay, we can only see, there's probably some of the sides that we can't see because we can't see any DC ports here at all. There's two RCA PWM power output. So that is pulse width modulation. So that it's the same as used for PC fans, basically. You use it for dew heaters to control the power of the dew heater. So basically, when you have a piece of electronics, there are two ways to control how much power you push to the device. Either you can drop the voltage, or you can use a PWM signal where the device will rapidly turn on and off. And depending on what that PWM is, then it just, if it's 100%, then it's of course on at all the times. If it's 50%, then it's 50%, and then it's on, full on, for like a fraction of a second, and then it's full off for the same period, and then it just pulses up and down. The PWM, again, is often used for PC fans, it's often used for dew heaters, and they come with these RCA ports, which is very common for the dew heaters. But they are there, very cool, full ASCOM capability, so you can control things with an ASCOM driver. Very cool. And I thought, you know what, that's not a whole lot of information. I would like some more pictures. So I went into SVBony's homepage and I found the SVBony SV412 Astronomy Micro USB DC plus USB hub box, blah, 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 blah. But the problem is the thing they list on the homepage is distinctly different from what they've been showing on Facebook. So now I'm super confused because I don't know what this device is going to include. Because the one they show here on the homepage, now we can see the output ports, and indeed there are 4 here and 2 here and 1 there. So I can see 7 ports as they said over here, but they said output ports here, but clearly one of these must be input, probably that one there. And data input is also there. We can see the USB ports, but this one does not, we actually get more pictures, we can see it from all sides, does not have the RCA ports that we saw before. The one with the, but maybe actually, is there a side we can't see? Maybe there is a side that we can't see. No, hold on. We have a side with all power ports, and then 2 and 2. No. Yeah, I don't think so, because they don't even list, I think here, they don't list the RCA ports on it at all. So I'm super confused about what it is they are actually making and what the stats of this thing actually is. But apparently they're making a new box. So if you are into that, then there is a new box from SVBony. But SVBony has been up to other things than just making boxes. They come out with a new filter. Oh, again and again, their marketing and their homepage is a bit of a mess. So they come out with a new set of filters. These are dual narrowband filters, and these are the SV220 filters. So apparently they say they come out with 2 sets of filters. They have a silicon oxygen filter and a hydrogen alpha and oxygen filter at 7 nanometers with dual band filter. So this is something that would probably be a competitor to something like the Optilon L Extreme filter, which is a hydrogen alpha and oxygen narrowband or dual narrowband filter. And they say it comes out at both a 2.5, 1.25, and a 2-inch size of these filters. So again, I went to the homepage and tried to look it up, and I was able to find the SV220, which is a hydrogen alpha and oxygen narrowband filter, but here's listed as a 3mm dual band filter. And you can see the spectrogram for it here. We have the hydrogen alpha, we have the oxygen line here. That's the only thing it lets through. So you can make these HOO looking images with it if you put a one-shot color camera behind this thing. But then again, we can see here, okay, I also find the other one. This was the 2-inch version, and it also comes in a 1.25-inch version, okay? Relatively affordable for their size. But then there's this one. I also found another SV220, hydrogen alpha and oxygen, and there's the 7 nanometer version of it, which is cheaper than the 3 nanometer version, which makes sense that a 7 nanometer, so it's a wider peak, is less expensive than the narrow peak. But they have the same model number, which confuses me a lot. You can also actually see it if you just look at you can see how narrow those peaks are, see how wide those peaks are in comparison. So this lets through more light. But anyway, it is a bit confusing what exactly it is. They also have it in both a 1 1/4 and a 2-inch variant for these filters. So I'm a bit confused exactly what it is. Maybe they're just, yeah, I don't know. But I just wanted to compare it to, if we just swap this over here to euro, so everything is in the same currency. We can see here I found the Optilong L Extreme. This is the 2-inch variant. Where you can see here we have the 2-inch variant. It's a lot cheaper, the new 7 nanometers. I don't actually know how wide the peaks are on the Optilong. Do they show that? No. I don't think that information is listed here. Then we probably have to go and... No, hold on. It is set right here. It is a 7 nanometer bandpass. So these are comparable to this one. And as you can see, the Optilong here is, at least at the Astro shop, it is sitting at 260 euros. And the new one here from SVBony is 314 euros. So it's a lot cheaper. So there's potential for some really, really cheap dual narrowband filters coming up from SVBony, regardless of whether you're going to go for the 7 nanometers or the 3 nanometer variant of those filters. Cool. Okay, now I have one more. Let me just quickly go to this camera. Just quickly check. Where are we at with that like goal? Oh, we're at 6 likes. We're almost there. No, 9. Oh, need to update. We're 1 like away. We're 12 people in chat. You should be able to do that. Okay, one more Astro gear-related thing. And it's not really an announcement of a new product. It's just something I thought was super cool. ScopeTrader.com have an article about Starfront that has installed its largest telescope today. A 24-inch f3. That is huge, with a very, very short, focal length on an f3. So that's a very, very big, very, very fast light-gathering beast. The SVBony power box priced at 53 does not have a heater controller. I have just bought one. It's good value for money though. I think the more advanced one is still in development. I think, Kevin, you're right. We're just circling back to your thought about this one, right? The power box. The thing that just confuses me with SVBony is the fact that if you go and look up the SV241, it's 2 different products. I think you're right that there is probably the one listed here that was relatively cheap, right? You said that you had it at 53, they listed it at 60 euros here, maybe prices increased, I don't know. But the one without the heater controller on, like the one they show here, it might be that just like with the filters, that they use the same product number for different like versions of the same thing, and you actually need to have the full name and be very careful what version it is you buy when you buy stuff from SVBony, because they have a tendency apparently to reuse their model numbers. Why they do that, I don't know, but they do. And yeah, it would kind of be like if ZWO has just said there's a new AM3 and it's the same, it's still called AM3, but it now has new features. So now it has all this, power routing and all that stuff. And it didn't change, but at least ZWO increase or changes the model number a little bit. So we still know it's an AM3 mount, but we know it's the end version of it. It's a new one. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, I still think these boxes are good value for people that are running from a laptop, and probably a must-have. And I think if you're running from a laptop, buying a power box like this is probably going to be a massive investment in terms of making it easier to set up your telescope, less cable clutter. Everything's just going to be easier if you do it this way. And for the price tag, it's, as you said, Kevin, really, really good value for money for what you get. But anyway, I wanted to go back to this humongous light-eating beast of a telescope that they put out at Starfront. Massive 24-inch f3 telescope, absolutely huge. Look at that thing. Look at that main mirror. Just look at that. What even is that? It's humongous. We have the, can we see that? Look at that. Look at that secondary. I wish my primary mirror was that big. This secondary mirror has more surface area than my primary mirror has. I love this. This is insane. And I calculated that before the stream. 24-inch at f3 means you have a focal length of around 1,800 millimeters of focal length. So it's still quite narrow. It's in the territory of what you would usually expect to get out of like an 8-inch SCT or something like that. But now we just have it on a 24-inch instead. I mean, my SCT has a focal length of 2000, and that's also an f10, so it's not really fast. It's one of those classic planet SCTs, but this is just look at the mount. Look at that. It's just stupid. I love it. It's great. Now, if you don't know what Starfront is what's called a telescope hosting service. It's basically a few guys that's built these massive, you can kind of see it here, they have these massive hangars where the entire roof, and here you can see the hangar, but the roof slides off. So it's kind of like these, slide off roofs of observatories that people are beginning to get, that they put in the garden that just looks like a normal shed, but the entire roof slides off and then you have your telescope. They've done that, but instead it's just an entire hangar where they will store 20 telescopes per hangar, or 24 or 30 telescopes. I don't know, massive amounts of telescopes in there. And then people basically rent a pier on their site, and you can ship your equipment to them and they will set it up for you, and you can show up in person yourself and set up your equipment. You just pay a monthly fee to have access to it, and then they will make sure to, whenever the weather allows it, they're gonna roll off the roof, and then you can just get a remote access to your telescope, and you can then sit from home inside the city, and then you can use your telescope equipment when it's sitting out there like in the middle of nowhere in the desert where it's super dry, very little water vapor in the air, very good seeing, lots of clear nights every year, and then you can sit from inside the city or wherever you live and do all your astrophotography stuff. I think it's a pretty cool service. And there exists a lot of these. This Starfront is probably one of the biggest and the most well-known, but they exist all over the world. Europe side, there is some in Spain. Central Spain has, I think, 1 or 2 different ones that I've spotted exists. So they do exist pretty much anywhere in the world. But again, the main idea with this is that you are sending your equipment, they set it up, and then you just image remotely. I find it to be quite expensive, and as someone who likes to tinker, I think I would miss like having to go and fiddle with it with the equipment from time to time, which of course you can, but the whole idea is that it's far away and it's a little difficult to get there and stuff like that. So yeah, very cool. And if you like big telescopes, then I think you're gonna find this cool as well, which I assume you do since you're here. Okay, let's just jump over here. Let's see, what else do I have? Have I forgotten anything? No. We need to talk about the night sky in September. Let me just get Stellarium open here so we can go and play around with that. What's your guys' opinion about these like telescope hosting sites? I'm kind of having a bit of a, I think I love the fact that they exist and what they allow people to do, because obviously a telescope like the one we've just looked at is completely like non-practical to do. You could probably put it in a home observatory if you have a lot of space for it, but it's something like that. You want to have proper clear skies, a lot of nights every year in order to do it. So it makes sense to put it out there. But I don't know. I kind of want to be able to go and tinker with the equipment, or maybe swap out the optical tube if I wanted to do something else from time to time. But I don't know. What's your guys' opinion about it? Okay, let's jump in and take a look at Stellarium. That's not Stellarium. That is Stellarium. There we go. See, I've learned Nightscape. I have now a second screen, or a fourth screen actually. Right now I have monitoring the stream health over on this side. I have the main screen you're seeing in front of me, and then I have you guys over here together with my talking notes, and now a tablet sitting down here where I have another live view of the stream, so I don't make the same mistakes I've done the last 2 months where I just sit and talk without forgetting to swap the thing around. A second rig, yeah, maybe have. So then you would have to, yeah. I don't think I would give up my travel rig. I mean, I want to, have something we can go and play with. Okay, night sky in the month of December. It's a little boring this month, I think. There's not that much exciting stuff. But there is something. If we just jump forward to the 7th, is that correct? Yes, on the 7th of September, we have a total lunar eclipse, which is cool. I like lunar eclipses. So if we just see if that is the right direction. Can't remember exactly what time it is. We just focus on the moon here. Now we can see there it's moving out of the Earth's shadow. So we need to move backwards. So it's right after sunset. We can see here that it should be very red, because we all know that usually the moon is quite red right after it rises, when it sits low on the horizon. But not only that, there's also now going to be a lunar eclipse at the same time. This is, of course, as it would look from Denmark. It might be higher in the sky if you're further south, I guess, east in this case. So it might be different for you. But there is a total lunar eclipse on the 7th. So if you're planning to be out that night, if you have a clear skies, then you have a chance to see a very, very red moon on the 7th. Forest Astrophotography says, if I had unlimited money, I would definitely build a rig and send it to Starfront or similar, just to get the data more reliably. But I would never abandon my own observatory and the work with it. I think I'm absolutely with you there. I mean, if you had just had, like all the money in the world, oh yeah, I would probably send a rig to Spain and have it sitting down there. Just so again, as you say, you can just have it collect data, because you just get like, I don't know what kind of like clear nights they have. It's probably, I would guess they probably get up to like 180, maybe 200 clear nights a year, something like that. It's quite a lot. I just sit there, collect data, get probably like a nice medium focal length, something like 700, 800, 900 kind of range, and I just sit there and just collect data and data and data, night after night. But I don't think I could give up having a telescope. It doesn't have to be one that you have at home, but I want something that I at least can go and tinker with, because I love to tinker with my telescopes. I've been having a blast all summer. I completely disassembled my Newtonian here over the summer. Just took it apart, everything off the telescope, spider out, cut a hole, the hole for the focusing tube bigger so I could fit a better focuser, flocked the telescope. I have a whole series of videos on my channel where I just completely stripped this thing down and just upgraded from scratch. And then after I completely finished the build, someone not too far away from me put up there was a small 6-inch meat with a focal length of 750. And then after like 2 weeks after I finished completely upgrading the small 6-inch, somebody put an 8-inch up for sale that already had, contrast baffles, and it had the upgraded focuser, and it had just everything that I wanted from the scope. It was just a little bit bigger, and because it was pretty much the same focal length. I think that was 800. It was also just faster. I think it's an f4. The other one's an f5, and it was super cheap. So I ended up getting that. So now I have a fully astrophotography upgraded 6-inch Newtonian sitting in storage, which I've actually promised Nightscape that next time we're out, I'm gonna bring that so he can borrow it if he wants to try and play around with a Newtonian. But yeah. Anyway, there is one more interesting thing happening in the sky this month. Let me just get over so we can get the correct view for you guys. It's really only applicable if you live in New Zealand, but if you live in New Zealand, you have something exciting that's gonna happen. If you don't, then it's less exciting. Here we go. There's a partial solar eclipse coming up this month. On the September 21st, there is going to be a partial solar eclipse. As you can see from the map here, unless you happen to be at Antarctica, then you can barely see it in Sydney. It's just going to be right on the edge. You need to be in New Zealand in order to see anything. Then you're going to have is it a 60% solar eclipse or something like that in order to be able to see it. That's I like that. That looks great, like a bullseye view of it. I actually didn't see that before. Just get that up there. Also, it just misses. And there, you can just see there was New Zealand over there. They just get a sliver of it. That's going to be very, as you see there, that's going to be very close to sunrise, I guess. Right in the morning, I would guess. But yeah. Usually gear up here at 63 degrees north. 45 nights. 24 to 25 season. 190 hours of data. And just 15 nights. You can only usually get in September and March. Oh yeah, because you're going to be limited by, if you're that far north. Like 63, that's far. Where on Earth? Hold on. 63 degree north. That's very, very far north. Just go check here. Yeah, it's going to be like northern Sweden territory, right? Because, yeah, okay. I was just guessing the how far north, but that was pretty damn... So we're up at like Iceland, southern Greenland territory. But that probably means, yeah, you're going to have basically no... I mean, you're far enough north that you have... Are you far enough north that you have, like, midnight sun in the summer? It's gonna be close. Let me just see here. Where is it? There. Almost midnight sun. Yeah, you gotta be close, right? Just taking a quick look here in the Cosmic Field Guide. Where are these darkness plots? Darkness plots. Here's the darkness plots. I'm not sure if I go far enough all the way to 60. No, I don't. I only go up to 60 degree north, which is the closest I have in the book. So this one's the closest to you, and you can see here. Basically, this shows how many minutes. So down here you have January, then you have the July is here, then you have January here again. So this is the year. And up here you have minutes after sunset, where you get... so the light one here is civil twilight. Then you have nautical, astronomical, and you have full-on night. When does those happen? So as you can see here, you have parts of the year this far north where this one just goes to infinitive, meaning that you never actually reach. You obviously have a sunset, but you never actually reach civil twilight at part of, or you need reach civil twilight. You never actually go into nautical twilight. And as this one also go to infinity, you also have like from May, you don't even get astro darkness. And as you say, you could probably get some astro darkness in like August. So right around now, it looks like you get some astro darkness, not a lot, but a little bit. But yeah, September, that's when you actually begin to get astronomical night again. So you're just here now, right? And this line here. Yeah, okay, cool. You just got astro darkness. Oh, okay. 2 days ago. Yeah, but that depends, because usually at some places they have weird definitions of astro darkness. I think the way I've defined astro darkness is the one that makes the most sense to me, which is that civil darkness starts at 0 degrees and ends at -6, where nautical darkness starts at -6 until -12, where astronomical darkness starts from -12, and then when you get to -18, that's when you get to night. But some places they will say astronomical darkness starts at -18, and then they don't define it. They will say civil twilight is at -6. They have everything like notched down one. But as far as I know, this is the definition that makes the most sense to me, at least. Anyway, there. Yeah, that was clear. Yeah, clear outside does it weird, if you ask me. Let's just check clear outside here. Hold on. Clear, where is clear outside? There's clear outside. Yeah, so you can see here. Look at this. These are the darkness plots. This is the same plots. They just showed in a different manner. But this is the same data that's shown on. But they show here. Look at that. They say that sunset is at. This is today, right? I have sunset at 20:02. But they say that civil darkness starts 40 minutes later. So what is the period between sunset and until they say civil twilight starts? What is that period called? Because in my mind, that is civil twilight or civil darkness. That is from sunset until there, which is -6 degrees. And then you have nautical darkness that starts. So that's just, there's a gap there that I don't understand with the way they've done it on clear outside. But that might just be me that I don't understand. Okay. So, 2 eclipses coming up this month. We have the lunar eclipse on the 7th, and if you happen to be in New Zealand, you also have a solar eclipse on the 21st. Cool. Okay, that was my list for this month. I really hope you enjoyed it. As always, do stay tuned to the channel for that announcement when the new merch store goes live. I hope you're going to enjoy that. Also, come by the Discord server. It's growing. There's a lot more activity over there. It's been taking a while to actually get some activity, but there's a lot of activity over there. People are so helpful over there. I'm so happy to see people helping each other. I try to help as much as I can, of course, when I'm online. But people are so super helpful. And we have multiple people that come by that buy new telescopes. They have questions. They don't work. We try to help people remotely and say, hey, try this, try that, turn that screw, see what happens. And in most cases, we actually manage to get people up and running. So regardless of whether you're new to the hobby or maybe you're already experienced, then we would love to have you over there so you can help other people get into the hobby of astronomy and astrophotography. Should we just see, did we make that goal? The 10? Hey, we actually made it to 12. Woo! Awesome. Okay. But again, also, if you spot cool news over the month, do let me know. There's a dedicated channel over on the Discord server. There's a link for it in the description below this video. Where people can post, if you spot cool things, just post it in there, because then it's an easy way to just alert me to some cool astronomy news that you think I should cover. Or you just DM it directly to me if you want to. That works as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have fun out there, clear skies, and I'll see you guys around.